Righty ho, guys. Welcome aboard. It is Wednesday Hump Day. Good to have you. Give me 2 secs and I'll start something happening here. Pardon me. Let me firstly get rid of that. And with any luck at all, you should now be seeing my screen and not my YouTube feed. Okay, sounds good. Firstly, secondly, because we've already had firstly, why am I looking at the Dow Jones? Well, I'm actually having a look at these stock markets because as Ash joins me, I'm very, very interested to see how he got on yesterday with a big whipsaw.
Oh, mate, it was amazing. I
Absolutely.
cleared the upside, I cleared the downside. It was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, do you know I managed to get in right at the highs. So I took a the longs kind of all cleared out by the time I sort of finished, and I managed to get in again short right at the high, and
Wow.
it just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. So I managed to clear out the shorts, and the month is in profit by quite a bit.
By quite a bit. You can knock off then.
To be honest, I can, and now I don't know whether I'm going to trade for the rest of the month or not. Really,
well, that depends on what happens, of course. But
yeah, I mean, I want the short, but now it's going to get tricky to, in actual fact, what I wish I'd done now is just kept on trailing. I didn't realize it was going to go quite as far as it did. But yeah, I wish I'd kept on trailing because I think that this market is primed now for a short. We got head and shoulders on the FTSE, which I'll show you in a bit.
Well, mate, you might as well start with that. I haven't got anything first up, so let's go to you and tell us of your good fortune and what to expect next.
Okay, so, right. Oh, why can't I share? It says I can't.
Leave the euro to me, by the way, mate.
I will. I will. It says I can't share while you're sharing.
Oh, okay. Well, kick me out, and I'll be back shortly.
I can't seem to kick you out
either. Oh, you mean I've got to stop sharing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is this different every day?
This is the question, isn't it? No idea. There we go. Are you still there? No, just coming back in a minute. Okay, so we had a beautiful move to the upside, and as I say, I had a load of longs kind of set up here, but I also added down here, so I managed to kind of get all my longs cleared out. I shorted up here. I can't remember exactly the price. It was a really good price. I think it was 90 or something. I shorted up here. And it came back all the way back down again, and I closed all my shorts when we bounced off the daily pivot. This I had a couple down here, which I actually could have got a break even on, but no big deal. What I wish I had done is just trail, because actually this market is now looking like it's primed to go down. And when we look at this,
the others have a little bit of a bearish look about them as well, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely do. And you know, look at this bar. I mean, we've got this head and shoulders pattern on the dailies. We've got a huge selling bar that if this starts to break down, I just think it's going and going and gone. So the question is, where can we get in now? At this particular point, the best point would be on that kind of right shoulder area. So probably the high of the day so far around about the 73.20. So for everybody else, it's 30 pips higher for you guys of your UK 100s. So it's going to be about 72.30 on your charts for a short, and it's just going to be a question of, can we get up there now? If we bring that up, so it's 72.20 on this one. But this market it doesn't look like it's coming back at this stage, does it? It looks like it's primed to go. Market's just opened up and it's continuing the sell-off. That's the 72.20 area around about there. So if we get up there, then we got a short in the market. It's got to get through the weekly pivot. Doubt it's going to get to the dailies, but if it does, then obviously an even better price. But at this stage, it just looks like it's not going to come back. So
yeah, you may have had the retracement already.
I think so.
Tiny little thing that we saw there. Then, yeah, the break back below the weekly pivot. That may be it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, it's as I say, it's a shame I didn't trail it, because The problem was, the market behaved so
Always
nicely for me
greedy, we
yesterday.
traders, aren't we?
I know, but it's one of those that that it kind of got to the point where I was nicely in profit, and actually the problem was I had a specific target in mind for my profit, and as soon as I hit that target, I was happy. So and it's actually psychologically not the right thing to do. It's much better to trade the charts rather than what your target your target level is. But I'm always trying to hit kind of 6% every month, and as soon as I kind of hit that 6%, then I was quite happy to close everything up
Happy
and
days,
fight
mate.
another day. Yeah, but actually, looking at it now, my 6% was all the way up here. So now we're looking at another 70 pips that was already on offer, and I have to say this is probably now this is likely to come all the way down and test this level before any kind of retracement, and it could go through. I think this really could now go all the way down and continue to fall. There was some terrible earnings out of the States, which seemed to be a bit of a driver. And it wasn't really something that I was expecting to be a driver, and maybe that's sort of like some of the problem. Yeah, it looks like the monthly pivot is right on the money now. So I think this is going to fall another 70 pips today without any question whatsoever, and we already start the day absolutely tanking. So there's plenty of downside room, and I think this monthly pivot is the next point of call. So we'll have to have a look whether we want to pick it up to the upside down here. I suspect there'll be a bounce, but whether that bounce is that substantial is going to be the really big question. Because as I say, that the market really does kind of like looked primed now just to collapse. I mean, there's every chance that this could collapse quite substantially.
Well,
Now I've been looking.
you're a little bit over your monthly target. What's wrong with putting a little bit whatever you're over your monthly target, if it's even a portion of that on a short, if you get the opportunity? What's wrong with that?
I will do that. I will do that, and I will do that purely because I don't think this market is coming back. Now that there is that, as I say, that the monthly pivot is quite a way down, but even looking at these monthly charts, this was the diamond pattern that we've been watching for quite some time,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks now like that may well even play out. So what we're really waiting for, as you say, is some kind of retracement to get back in again, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. That we do get the retracement that we need. And as you say, if we get that, then of course I will re-enter. There's no two ways about it. But
Is there
we
a
are
level,
definitely.
mate? Level you want to get in at?
Well, I do want to get in. I want to get in up here, but I don't think that's gonna. I mean, we're already kind of 60 pips, but away from that particular point now. So we're going to have to see what's on offer. The market is so bearish now. It looks to me like people are just going to be clearing out. So at this stage, it could well be there where unfortunately my original entry short was. So it's going to be a little bit psychological for me now, to be honest, mate. And that's what I've got to deal with. The fact that that I've probably managed my short. Yes, it made money, but I've probably not managed it too well because, as I say, I should really be trailing this now. I should be with a stop at this particular point, rather than being out of this market, because it just looks like it's primed to go. It doesn't look like it's coming back. So let's see. I mean, this will be the first target, and that's going to be around about 20 pips above where we are now. The real target is more like looks like 60 pips away from where we are now. Now we've got Lagarde out later this week, so it's not a foregone conclusion by any stretch. The market could come back, but you have to kind of like look at the bigger picture, and on the daily chart, this is a setup bar. So there's going to be a lot of people that are already kind of like quite keen. That particular point is about 20 pips away, so that's going to be the point that people are going to be keen to be getting into this short. So let's see if we get some sort of turnaround there, and let's see if we get if we got the wherewithal to trade it. And it's really just about headspace. I've got to make sure my head's in the right place before I pull the trigger now.
Mate, great work. I don't think you need to do too much myself, but if it comes back for you, then why not? Let's go again. I'm not.
Sounds good.
I'm not having any sort of luck with my setups. I've got to say. So I'm pretty much on the sidelines. Have been all week, and I must apologise to those who are in my strategy group who would have tuned into me this morning, and I wasn't there. Well, I was there, but I couldn't get in, and I apologise for that. I just couldn't time myself this morning. I had to go and do a delivery right down the bottom of Australia, and that was a 4-hour round trip. And I thought I'd be back in plenty of time, but unfortunately, I got caught short with a bit of roadworks, and I couldn't get in whilst I was on the road. So apologies for that to my strategy leader guys, or my strategy guys. Got a couple of 2 LTs in the room. G'day, both LTs. Good to have you on board. And good on you, Lewis. It's great to see you're following Ash's leads there and getting some nice money out of the FTSE. You must be in love with the FTSE at the moment. Had a great trade yourself in Bali. Awesome, well done. And hi, Derek. How you doing, bud? Good to see you in the room as well. Okay, mate, I'll share screen, shall I? I don't think this is going to be a long show today, guys, to be fair, but let's take a look and see what's about, shall we?
Now, this is the thing, when the market is kind of volatile like it is now, this makes it trickier to get in some respects. And if you get the right point, it's easy to make money because it will just go. But it does make it a little bit trickier to get in. I mean, I much prefer when things are just a little bit more rangy to start with, and then see if you can kind of get the bottom of the range if you're going long and the top of the range if you're going short. So it does make it a little bit harder. But there's no two ways about it. This market looks really ominous, very, very ominous. It looks primed to go.
Yeah, look, I agree, and I said that yesterday. I thought, in particular, Euro Yen was something that I really wanted to get my teeth into. Look, I'm pretty happy I didn't find a trade yesterday because I don't think anything would have worked out for me anyway. And I'll start with the euro. We're talking about the euro as we do every day. There's a good reason for that because it's my thing, and it's also the biggest traded currency pair on the planet. So that's a good reason to do it. We were contemplating how we were going to get short yesterday. And I'm always a proponent of trying to get a daily pivot test. And now we've seen 2 days in a row where we haven't had a daily pivot test. Unfortunately, that was up until yesterday. We were looking. Why am I out of sorts here? This doesn't make sense to me. I'm looking at euro dollar, yes. What I'm saying and what I'm seeing are two different things. That's kind of weird. And I'll go to the hourly chart so I can get focused. Okay, right. Now I'm with it. We were talking about the weekly pivot, not the daily pivot yesterday. I said on Monday that it's not unusual if euro dollar is reversing to find that we will get a couple of days without daily pivot tests. And pretty much that's what we saw. Now we've leveled off. And what do we do now? Well, I'm still of a bearish nature, but I know that there's a groundswell and a lot of. I think the COP report on the euro is long. Ash, I'm not 100% sure on that.
I will look into that for you right now.
I think the commercials have started to get long on the euro. That is a little bit of a concern with a bearish bias, but it won't change my mind because after all, I'm trading intraday. I'm not trading end of day in this session anyway. But really what I need to see is price move away from this monthly pivot now. You can see clearly that we've settled in and have no intention, it would appear, of leaving this area. Same could have been said yesterday, pardon me, of the daily pivot, where we just couldn't get away from it. Every time we got above it, we came back to it. Every time we came back to it, we tried again. And eventually, early this morning, we came back to the monthly pivot. So it's very much a case of here we are stuck in this little range. And that's a good thing if we can find a way to trade off the top and the bottom of it. Unfortunately, we're not at the top and the bottom of anything at the moment, but I do see that we do have a new rectangle here. We'll pull it from equal highs. What am I on, an hourly chart? If I went to a 30-minute chart, that would probably be a high. So let's call it in here somewhere. That'll do for now. So as always, what we're looking to do is either break and retest the bottom of the range or wait till we get back inside the range. On this occasion, terrible candle to trade, untradeable there on a 1 hour chart. I wonder what that was like on a 30. Yeah, same. Absolute spinning top, impossible to trade, almost a doji. So impossible to trade that where it was. I think I'm probably settling for a big break here, as I was yesterday, of the lows. I want to see a big break of the lows and a retest of them before I entertain going short off support. My preference, as always, is to trade short off resistance. So I'd be looking for a false break up here. Pardon me. So that kind of sets the tune or the tone for me on the euro at the moment. This is quite okay. I don't mind where that is. If we came back and retested here now, that would be just fine. The difference between today and yesterday is we've already taken out the low of the day, whereas yesterday, as I said, I would not trade into the low of the day. And that has served me well over many, many years. And again, yesterday, that kept me out of a short, and more than happy that that was the case, because I would have got burned. So what happens next? Well, yeah, trading the breakout's fine if you can find a way, but that's not the way I'm looking to trade. I'd like to see a close below this level, 110.61, as I've got it, which represents the low of yesterday, and then retest. And I would look probably to enter short at that point. But at this point in time, no, there's nothing there for me. Cable has almost come back underneath our descending channel, and therefore I'm looking for a lower high here. This is very, very awkward in terms of price action because of that tiny little bar that you see there. I'll go to the hourly chart, see if it's any better. But what I see here, and ignore this line because that's the 4 hour line that we were just looking at. Let me put it there. I tend to confuse people with these trade lines that I have on my chart, so let's get them off. I definitely see a big double top here, and I definitely see the way down towards this weekly pivot. We're at the top of that. I call them ranges, right? It's a descending channel. The problem I've got here in trying to trade this short at the moment is, once again, I've got an untested daily pivot. But similar to what I've said on the euro, when we start to reverse, we quite often don't get tests of daily pivot because the market is starting to get excited, right? It's starting to get excited that we're moving in the opposite direction. And therefore it just goes and goes. And Ash was talking about that on the FTSE. It doesn't want to just come back. It just wants to go. And this may well be the case on the pound as well. I can already see, doesn't matter which low you use here, you're going to get the same result. You're going to go through that area. And I think, again, a breakdown of that area and a retest of that area is definitely a short opportunity. If we extend our little channel, that'll give us a nice confluence area here. So, as I said from the outset, there are really potential here, or there is really a lot of potential here for the market to give us something, but it just got to set up. I can't trade what I absolutely think. Just because I think it, I've got to have a reason to get into the market, and I don't have one at the moment. In fact, I've got a reason to stay out of the market. That's the untested daily pivot and the fact that we're at a support level. We're also at the low of the day. So again, I don't want to trade into that. It's very, very tough if you want to stick to all your rules when the market's, as I said, it's a little bit volatile. And for that reason, we're getting lots of different movements in different directions, which is great. But if they are creating support and resistance areas that I can't trade through, that's a bit frustrating. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. with the pound and the euro. So I'll move on to the Aussie.
Just while you're on the euro, mate, just to
Yeah,
let
mate.
you know about the cot.
All right, let's go back
Yeah,
there.
it's interesting, really. The commercial positions are equal in almost. You know,
Okay.
yeah, it looks like they're around about 3,000 difference, which is nothing. You know, the buyers and the sellers seem to be in pretty much equal number. Slightly more buying going on with the commercials, slightly more selling going on with the non-commercials. So it looks, and it's not really that extreme either. That the level isn't wholly extreme. Well, maybe it is actually. Maybe it could start to suggest that the buying is slightly keener. So it does suggest that there is maybe some more upside in this market.
Yeah, look, mate, I'm
It's very,
encouraged
very,
by.
yeah, it's hardly anything there, mate.
I'm actually encouraged by that, because what that means to me is we're going to stay in close quarters for the time being
Yes.
until Friday, and when
Yeah.
Friday comes, we're going to see the explosion. I really expected to see more buying coming into Friday, which, for those of you who don't know, is of course the first speech of the new ECB pres or chairman, Ms. Christine Lagarde, and that's widely anticipated as a speech that, well, I guess from the people I've spoken to, they're talking about she's being a very, very good thing for the Eurozone and the euro. So that's what I
Interesting
anticipate.
about as well, just because you were talking about the pound, the buying from the commercials has really, really come off recently, and that's also suggesting that the pound is probably going to be fairly choppy. The selling has come off with the non-commercials, but the commercials buying has come right their way off. So they don't at this stage see the risk to the upside.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah,
I
it
was
really.
going to ask you, what did Boris say last night? Did you listen to him?
I did.
I imagine you
I
would
heard
have.
Jeremy Corbyn and Boris. Boris was just, constantly trying to direct the conversation back to Brexit. You know, that's obviously what he believes is his election winner. Is the message about Brexit and getting Brexit done and getting out the EU. And I think that's the judgment call that they've made, because it has been kind of billed as the Brexit election,
Yeah.
which is fair. But by the same token, Jeremy Corbyn, he's in a difficult position because he's very non-committal about whether, that Labour's plan is to negotiate a deal with the EU and then bring it back to the people. And because of that, people are like, well, what would you then campaign for? Leave or remain? And obviously, if you campaign for remain, that means you're campaigning against your own negotiated deal. So they're pushing Jeremy Corbyn to say, what his position would be, but he's just not happy to commit to saying what his position is going to be on Leave or Remain. And he's getting
what's the point in that? That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
What's that he's not committing?
Sitting on the fence. Yeah, there's an election coming up, isn't there?
This is the problem, and this was the problem with Jeremy Corbyn 3 years ago. He hasn't committed to whether he's a committed leaver or a committed remainer. I mean, when the referendum came up in 2016, he was loosely back in Remain. But I think he does recognise the problems with the EU, and that's why he's not too keen to really hang his colours to the mast, because he knows that there are plenty of Labour supporters that would back Leave, and also I think there's part of him that would back Leave as well. I think he knows that it's a broken organisation, but by the same token, he recognises that the fact that we need to be in the EU, it's the biggest trading bloc in the world. And it would be it's really going to be stupid for us to leave. So Boris Johnson kept bringing the conversation back to Brexit, and from my perspective, and I find him quite, he's an amusing guy, but I found him very boring, and I thought his message lacked a lot of meat and a lot of detail. But it's not because they don't necessarily have any. It's more the fact that that's the tactics that they've decided to go with. Corbyn was, I thought, much better, because when you broaden out the picture, he was talking about some of the plans that he would have in his manifesto after Brexit. you know, what they're going to do for the country generally. And I think from a people's perspective, I don't think business are going to like a Corbyn government, but from a people's perspective, he being a socialist, I think. And trying to rebalance the fairness and wealth in the country, I think his message is just a lot more refreshing. You know, I actually quite like some of their ideas. I find Corbyn really difficult to get behind because he is so fluffy about certain issues. You know, Brexit being one of them. But in saying that, you know, I'm not a socialist. You know, on the whole, I think I'm probably a bit more balanced than that. I'm not a capitalist either, but I do agree with some of the social ideas that Labour are bringing. You know, I think renationalising the railway lines is the right thing to do. I think giving people free university tuition, I think, is the right thing to do. I think putting money in the NHS
free, absolutely free.
Absolutely free. That's their plan.
How does that work?
Well, this is the thing, you see. This is why businesses don't like him, because the way he's going to pay for everything is by raising corporation tax. Boris Johnson's tactics are completely different. What he wants to do is have Brexit and then almost become a Singapore on the edge of the EU, where taxes are very, very low and businesses come here to trade effectively off the shores of the biggest trading bloc. So his tactics are completely different, but I don't see the problem with trying to rebalance the economy and trying to give people a fairer start, because realistically the only people that can then afford to go to university are those that don't mind a whole bunch of debt, or the people that can afford it. So it does mean that we miss out on quite a few bright people, and there's quite a few opportunities that the young people with no money just aren't able to jump onto, and I personally don't think that's right. I think that I think
the way we deal with that in Australia, and I think it's pretty much a universal thing, or I thought it was, maybe it's not, was that we put people through university without them having to pay up front, but we charge them once they get to a certain income level.
That's where it is right now with us.
It's same,
that's
right,
what it is.
okay.
Yeah, same thing. You know, when they get to a certain point, and they start to pay it back, which is okay too. I mean, you know, people paying for their own education.
No, I'm still paying for my wife's education.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because when it comes down to it, the bill becomes so high. You know, it's almost like then they can charge whatever they want, but the bill becomes so high that actually you lose out on potentially having a deposit for a house.
Yeah,
so
many thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but people walking away with university debts of about £60,000 over here.
Yep.
When will they ever get to pay that back? You know, even if they're a doctor earning 45 grand a year, they're not going to be able to put all the money that they earn into paying that debt off. So that's going to hang over them for at least 10 years. And you wonder whether a young life going into the workplace should have that burden. You know, when corporations are actually going to benefit from those people's education. You know, so I think there's a lot to be said for rebalancing the wealth in the country. So. Yeah, I quite like that. I don't think they'll win. The one chance that Corbyn has got to get into power is if he can form a majority government, or a minority government, I should say, with one of the other parties. And there's a chance. I'll be voting Labour, but it's not really because of Corbyn. It's because I like the Labour MP around here. I like his message. He's not. He's more of a Blairite than a Corbynister. So I'll be voting Labour, but and I think this area probably will. But I hope they do. I don't want the Conservatives to get in. I don't want Brexit anyway. But I think this country could do with a fresh message. The big problem that people have with Labour is that last time we had a Labour government, there was literally no money left in the coffers. So
that's what Labour does. That's their agenda, man.
That's the problem.
They give it to the people.
Yeah, that's the problem is the borrowing. But The one thing that that I do quite like about what Corbyn's talking about is about allowing the nationalisation of industry to effectively then be reinvested. So that's the way they make money. You know, the way that they make money is because it works in China. You know, this is the thing. You know, I almost see it like the China model. You know, the way that China has managed to kind of climb its way to being the second most powerful economy in the world is not by free marketing. You know, they've got an element of that, but really when it comes down to it, it's just about really astute state control, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I also think that even though Thatcher was probably right in the first instance to privatise just about everything that was going, I think everything has got its shelf life and its peak. And I think maybe we've hit that particular point now, and maybe now we should be coming back in the opposite direction a little bit to rebalance and then you know, give the Tories another go in 10 years' time.
Interesting, mate. How long have you got now?
We have got. This one's a nice quick one. We've only got another 20 days, 22 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we should have what we need. Do you know?
Wow, it's going to be an interesting pre-Christmas week. The week before Christmas is going to be very, very interesting for the pound and the euro.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, we've if Boris Johnson gets in, I mean, you know, I wonder whether we are seeing the result of yesterday's speech coming through with the pound. I don't know, because I'm seeing the euro kind of ease to the downside. I'm seeing the Aussie a little bit weaker this morning. I'm seeing some dollar strength against the CAD, so it looks like it's probably more of a dollar strength story. But there is a long on the FTSE here, by the way. But
I'm trying to talk myself out of a long on the pound right now, but I can't.
Yeah, well, you're trying to sort yourself out of a long on the pound. You know, the interesting thing with the pound, as I say, I wonder whether yesterday's speech. I like the pound as well, but probably around about 128.85. It looks to me. So it could do with drifting a little bit more to my mind, to about another 15 pips to the downside. I know what you've got, but I've got a little trend line which I've drawn from the 8th of November.
Down here, yep.
Extrapolating up on the 14th.
I can see where you'd get it from. Yep, through here.
Yeah, on the 4 hour, I've got it actually. A bit lower than that.
Is it? Okay, let me go to the 4 hour then.
Why is mine looks different to yours? No, yes, that's it, mate. Yeah. That's exactly the same.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I see this little horizontal level through here. It's not super, but it's interesting. I'm glad this is breaking, because if it hadn't broken, I'd be very tempted to trade this long.
Yeah.
But it hasn't closed yet. It's got a minute to go. I'll stick here for a minute and just call this as I see it.
There's an interesting long on the FTSE. I mean, I don't know whether I'll take it. And it is one of those longs to go shorts kind of scenarios.
Yep. I'm pretty much the same here. I'm looking for a lower high off this triple bottom or triple top, but I'm looking for it up here somewhere.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. I would like this one, but I'm just going to make sure my head's right. This is the thing, and you know, this is the thing I recognize, is that when you're not making money, when you're losing money, then mistakes are more likely to be made, and I feel the same when I've made money. Mistakes can be made, and they can happen both ways. You know, the mistake could be that I don't get into a market that is actually shouting at me to get in, but I prefer that rather than getting in something wrong. This does look good, though, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm going to take this, mate.
Okay, great.
Are you going to take yours?
Quite, yes. If it comes down again, I am going to take it. But so you got some time.
All right, we'll go. What account am I on here? I can't remember what account I'm on. One lot will do on this.
I've got to set mine up too.
If you're trading this, guys, and you want to, I wouldn't go any more than about 1/4 to 1/2% maximum. It's a pending order. It's a buy stop. The price will be at 129.20. Lewis, I will get to Aussie yen, by the way. The stop loss will be underneath here. And I can't see the level, 128.98. 128.98. So a 22 pip. Risk on this, 128.98. And we won't worry about the take profit. Place the order. I don't know why I can't see my entry level, but it's just above this bar, guys. Now, reasoning. We're in a downtrend now on the smaller time frames, but the bigger picture is that we're coming out of an incredibly bullish move. Now, this to me is not a reversal scenario. This is a continuation scenario, and I've got an upside target here. And the upside target is clearly this trend line, right? So if I extrapolate,
I'm taking a long, mate. So
mate,
FTSE 100
go to you because I'll give them the levels.
Okay. All right, let me come to it. I've taken the long. It's already triggered. So you guys want to get in, then let's do that. Where are we at? Okay, let me just take the screen. Oh, you have to give me the screen again.
Okay, bye-bye. I'll be back in a flash. Hang on, stop share. Bloody hell. There I go.
Okay, so I have gone.
Here.
Oh, that's good. You still there?
Yeah, amazing.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so the long is in the market. Now, I've taken this long here. And the reason that I've taken this long is because of the bounce off the 4-hour chart. I quite like this. You know, we got a line which starts there down here, and a touch here, little breakthrough with a touch there. So
line, mate.
it's a nice trend line, isn't it? So so I've taken the long here. I still like the monthly pivot test. So all I'm looking to do here is exactly what I did in Bali. I just want some retracement, and then I'm going to take a short. So let me just talk you through my my plan. And the plan is this. We go long to go short. So we go long here. See if the market comes up a little bit. You know, I'm probably going to be aiming for around about the weekly pivot. I quite like that. If it's not the weekly pivot, then it's just below. So I'm looking for about 30 pips to the upside. Probably no less, I have to say. It's probably no less than 30 pips to the upside. So I'm looking for a 30 pip run to the upside. At that point, I'm going to take a short. I'm going to put this stop at break even. And if it starts to break to the downside, I'm going to put this stop at break even and see if we go through. Okay. Now, the target on the short side is the monthly pivot. Okay. So at that point, we are looking for around about 90 pips to the downside. Now, if this breaks down, then there is an option to take a short, but below this bar. But what I'd really want to see at that point is it break down. I want to see this break down, come back, and then take the short to the downside. Okay, at that point, I'd probably want to take this long out the market, but we'll see. But yeah, the short is in anyway, and I'm just waiting to see whether it breaks up. But as I say, the actual plan, if this works out the way that I want it to work out, the way that I'm envisaging, then we start to move higher. We put a short in here, and then we come down. Now, if anybody needs me to go through it on, in fact, are you ready to go, mate? Do you need the screen?
No, mate, you're good. Keep going.
Okay, all right. Let me just bring this onto a chart that you guys have got. So I just want to make sure that I've got 3 accounts here, which is, it can get incredibly confusing. So let me just see if I can bring in this instead for you guys. Okay, this is the UK. Actually, it looks to me like the pivot there is in around about the same place, which is quite unusual. Everybody's monthly pivot might be a little bit more shallow, but you know it's going to be the same deal where your charts are going to be different on this, unfortunately. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Same deal. So you're just looking for a move to the upside. It's going to be around about the weekly pivot, which is the same sort of area, around about 30, 35 pips to the upside. Short in there, stops at break even, and then look to see if you can get around about what looks like an 80 pip move to the downside from the weekly pivot. So you're basically going to be trading between the pivots. We're looking for a pop up to the pivot weekly, and then a pop down to the monthly. Okay, simple as that, mate. Simple as that. If it breaks down, then we will trade it slightly differently. But if everybody's got in, then actually the price is pretty good. I quite like that price. It could dip a little bit more. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good price to me. I quite like it. So that's the plan.
Righto. I hope I don't kick you out. I'm going to just go through the profit levels on this one. If indeed we're happy enough, well, fortunate enough to get into the market, it looks at this moment as though the bears want to just continue, and that's fine. That's no drama at all. That's why I don't enter at market. That's why I enter it here. So the entry level is here. Take profit has to be, guys, before this high, if we come back here. Now, if we go down and take out this level dramatically and head towards the bottom of this channel, just cancel the order. It's obvious, right? It's asking price to do too much. But at this level, we're still at the support area. So I'm still happy to keep this in the market. But you must take profit here, because the real risk in this trade is that we'll hit the daily pivot and just bounce and go south. Now, in terms of targets, again, I think there's a big upside target, and that's why I'm happy to take this trade. But you've got to look at the top of this range as well. So let's go back to that. And there's your real target on this particular trade. So TP1's here. TP2 has got to be at the highs. So 30 odd pips. You're risking 20, I think. Take most of the position off at that point, but let some go just in case it does take off and head towards this upside. If it does, you're in a pretty decent trade. You'll get a couple of hundred pips out of that. I'm not anticipating that will be the case without a retracement, but if you can get into that position, happy days. If not, get most of the profit off the table at that level, as I said. Now, I've really got nothing more to discuss, except what do we do? Aussie yen, we've got to have a look at. Euro yen, I want to have a look at. Euro yen's intriguing to me. It has been for a couple of days now. And the reason is on the daily charts giving me two perfect scenarios. One is high test, high test, high test, straight through here. And that's a beautiful entry to trade it long. The issue I've had all week, it's only Wednesday, but the issue I've had is I've got a beautiful scenario short as well, where we've broken through the bottom of the range. We've broken the monthly pivot. We've retested the monthly pivot. In fact, we smashed back through it. I love that. It's double cross, right? And we've failed to get back into the range or close back into the range. So that's bearish for me. Now, that's what I'm saying. There's a potential long, there's a potential short. That makes it really interesting. And I think from my perspective, I was going to this morning, if I was in the show, if I could have got in the show, I was going to take both orders. I was going to take the long and the short. on not necessarily the daily chart, but maybe even the 4-hour chart if I'd found a better way. I think the entry's still there on the long as it turns out, but there's also another entry there. We keep getting shots over the bow here, what I call shots over the bow. They're warnings. They're telling me that price can break through here and go to the top of this range. Certainly not seeing that at the moment, that's for sure, because we've got a market that wants to sell off very, very rapidly, it would seem. But gee, I keep getting these, guys, and when I keep getting these, I start to think some stage we're going to go long here. I've got no idea where that may be at this point in time, but I think again, had I been in the market or had I been in the show this morning, I would have taken both positions. But right now, pardon me, I'm thinking I need to wait. Why I need to wait is I've now got a bias probably that is neutral. Well, it was neutral, I guess, in the first place, given that I wanted to go both ways. But right now, I'm thinking this is, yes, going to break, but I've got no idea where, and I now no longer want to place a short. That's my issue, because I'm seeing all of these warning signals that are saying long, 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 which is interesting because if I go by my chart analysis is saying short off this bar here, which is now kind of panning out. But I think once we get to here is when I'll start looking for the longs and the anticipation of breaking. This may well go to the high side, but we're a long way from there now. So I'm just cooling my heels on Euro Yen, but I still think it's exciting. Now, Aussie Yen. We, as you can see, we had an expired trade. And I chose this one yesterday over Euro Yen because of the double cross scenario. Now, the double cross is break and retest of the monthly pivot, but not necessarily the monthly pivot. Could be any pivot. What I'm now seeing is a low test bar sitting on this trade line, and we've got a few mates. So this is looking now extremely bearish to me. Am I willing to take the trade at this level is the question. Whew, it's a toughie. Reason it's a toughie is I'm not right on where I'd like to be, but I do see on the 4-hour chart a nice little scenario coming up here. So really what I'd now like to see, now that we've broken back below the monthly pivot again, we've got what, an hour and a quarter before this candle closes. If it were to close there, or even just below that level, that trend line or trade line, and then give me a decisive bullish bar, retesting the monthly pivot, retesting the daily pivot, and the trade line, wow, yes, I would definitely go short there. Trading into DS1 is a bit of an issue, but that's more a 30-minute thing than a 4-hour thing. So yes, what I'm looking for here is a close round about where we are, and then a bullish bar that comes back at least halfway into that bar, and preferably back to the daily pivot and the confluence area of the what's this called? Daily pivot and trend line. That's kind of it, guys. That's kind of where I'm at. That I'm happy to see that. Even a break and retest here gets me interested as well. So break this trade line, retest the monthly pivot and confluence area of the now support trade line. So anything there does look interesting. I like it. I like the setup. Going back to Lewis, you're saying, look, we're going to it. Yeah, look, I agree. It does look like it's going to the bottom of the channel, and that's absolutely my chart analysis. As I said before, we've come off the top. We've got broken the bottom of the rectangle. We've got a rejection bar. We didn't come back inside the rectangle, and absolutely, it looks like it's going there. I agree with that. Maybe I should have just put a blindfold on and saw only that, maybe. But there's something telling me that this is going long at some stage, and I don't know when. Maybe it's after we hit there. Maybe it is. I really don't know. I'll continue to watch it. But really what I'm seeing, and this is why it was exciting, I'm seeing both scenarios. I can absolutely give you a strong case for both long and short. And that's why this morning I wanted to trade it in both directions. Totally, I see what you're seeing, and I'll continue to monitor that. Maybe I need to get sneaky and go down to a 30-minute time frame and see what I can find. At the moment, that appears to be a break of the weekly pivot. So it is looking bearish, I've got to say. Let me put this new channel in. I can see a channel through here as well. Bottom of the channel. Let's see what happens here, Lewis. If we break through here and maybe retest it, then it's got that bearish momentum on its side, but perhaps it can go back to here as well. Interesting, isn't it? I'm really intrigued by Euro-Yen at the moment, and I just want a little bit more information if I can find some. At the moment, it's just wait and see. Okay, how is pound? How's that looking? Looking like it's going south in a hurry on the daily chart, and that appears to be the case. Guys, I think it's almost time to say get rid of the order that I placed, because it has gone very, very rapidly in the opposite direction. That normally wouldn't bother me, but now it's got a lot of work to do. It's got to go 30 pips before it gets into the trade. Then it's got to go another 15 odd pips before it gives us a take profit level. So yeah, not happy. Well, I'm not disappointed, but it is what it is. I think now that I'll just cancel that order and look for another opportunity. Maybe when we get to the bottom here, there's an opportunity to come back and test the confluence area. Mate, I'm going to bail out of pound US dollar at this point. It's got too much going against it. So that's me for the day, bud. You still with me?
Oh, sorry, buddy, I was muted.
You're right.
I don't think the leadership debate yesterday would have helped the pound. I don't think Boris Johnson really glittered himself with any kind of glory, and the markets seemed to react pretty well when they were looking at a decent lead from the Conservatives. And it's quite interesting because Jeremy Corbyn is not very popular, as he wasn't during the last election. But where he comes into his own is when he's in front of the cameras and he's a campaigner. That's what he's good at. So taking him on in this kind of environment actually is perfect for him. You know, this is really his field of expertise. He's a very, very good campaigner. Not that he's, in fact, he's a good orator. He's a good orator. But do you know where he wins is that he's quite polite in some respects. You know, he doesn't go after the other person, almost unchallenged and like a rabid dog. He doesn't really tend to shout the other person down much. So he does actually hold some fairly decent decorum. And I wonder whether Boris Johnson might be just taking him on in a arena that actually Corbyn might end up being surprisingly better than Boris Johnson in.
Yeah, mate, that's something I know very little about. What I do know something about is we've been waiting for this to happen, and it looks like it's happening.
Yeah,
it looks like it's happening today. The euro is doing exactly as we anticipated it would.
Yeah. What gives then? Are we going to wait for Friday? I mean, what have we got? We have got Forex Factory. Let me just. We haven't really looked at the news today, have we? Or did you do that earlier?
Yeah, well, I did, and I decided it wasn't worth talking about. To be fair.
Okay. All right.
We've got.
Look, so
I think we've got minutes again, haven't we? Or is that tomorrow? Okay.
FOMC minutes. Yes, we do. We have FOMC minutes today, and then tomorrow we've got the ECB, and Friday we've got Christine Lagarde's first speech, German manufacturing PMI, for services PMI, flash PMI. There's loads of data tomorrow, which could make this really quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm a little bit peeved I missed this short, but I can't see a way into it either. That was a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Never mind. There's still the potential to trade as a false break, guys. So we may still be able to get into this to trade at the weekly pivot. And that doesn't mean I'm a bear the euro precisely, well, not precisely the opposite, but I think there's a long on offer if we hit the weekly pivot. That's kind of what I'm targeting, and that's what I thought all along this week. We'd try and get this down to here and then look for the long to take it back to the top of the range at least. So that's still in play. And if we get a false break here, that's worth a trade down to the weekly pivot. So keep your eye on that one as well.
Great stuff. All right, buddy. All right, well, we will call it for the day. We'll be back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow, and see where this FTSE ends up. We're looking still for the weekly pivot to go short, and if it breaks down, we will manage it as it goes. But you know what? If this does break down, guys, and I would obviously, you know, where your stops are going to be in place, which shouldn't be too far away from where they are now. You know, you don't want too much wider than a 15 pip stop really on this. And if it breaks down, look to do the same at the monthly pivot. At that point, I'm looking for another bounce. So if it breaks down here, then I'm going to try another long a little bit further down the line. So that's where we are at. So yeah, see you in the morning. Have a good rest of day, guys. Have a good evening. And to you, Jeff, have a good evening too, buddy. And I will see you tomorrow, 5 to 8.
Cheers, mate. 5 to 8. That sounds like a date. Don't be late.
See you later, guys.